We're being beamed across the map. I'm gonna die probably.
Nah, you're good.
There's a guy on my left. On my left. There's a sniper as well.
He's on my body.
Hang on.
Westie, do not bleed out. Do not bleed out.
He's rezzing.
Hang on.
He's looking right at my body.
Recovering.
Yes.
Oh, my days of the comms. The teamwork.
Kill one that just came out.
Big plays.
Yeah, nice. Jet! Oh my god!
Oh my days.
Oh, yeah, he crashed. He crashed all right. Oh my god.
Go to point, boys.
Tank on E. Tank's gone. Tank is gone. Let's go.
Slightly winged a tree there. My bad, gang. Is that tank still there, yeah?
No, Tank's gone.
On his gum. We're chilling.
Oh,
Hillside, you see that?
Yeah, let's go. Oh, oh my god, what is going on right now? This is crazy.
They're getting them. I can't see him.
I've got multiple men pushing me. Coming down the hill here.
Oh, I finally got hit.
Chopper, enemy chopper.
Whoa, what's that?
He crashed. Did you get him? Yes, Westie.
Oh my god.
Yes.
There's no way I got that. That was incredible.
Oh my
What a
days.
moment. What a
You get me?
moment. So I've spent over 30 hours now in the Battlefield 6 open beta this week, plus another 8 hours or so over in Los Angeles during the multiplayer reveal. And I've been taking notes along the way because I want to share what I like about Battlefield 6, what I don't like about Battlefield 6, and where I think the game could improve overall. But I have been having an absolute blast. I haven't played sessions this long on a video game since early Warzone in 2020. But of course, there are some things that I'm not a fan of, so let's get into it. If you go on to enjoy the video, drop a like to feed the almighty YouTube algorithm, and subscribe for more Battlefield 6 content as we head into the second beta weekend and the launch in October. Okay, let's start with the maps and the environments. The 3 that we've got so far in the beta are pretty good looking maps, I've got to say, and they're pretty good fun to play as well. The environments, they're full of character, and you can tell that the designers and the artists have spent loads of time making sure that, like, these maps actually feel like they're alive, you know? Siege of Cairo, probably my favorite. It gives me the vibes that I'm running around in some sort of war movie. Every part of the map is covered in different assets, like, you could be running down a road and there's like HESCO barriers and concrete barricades forced up against solid walls, but then it's surrounded by fallen rubble to provide cover. So many elements are destructible, making for some properly cinematic moments. And even if you look outside the playable area, there's helicopters flying across the sky and mortar shells raining down, a massive fire set off in the distance. It's all there, it just surrounds you. The last time I played a Battlefield game with like this sort of atmosphere and polish was Battlefield 1, and that launched nearly 10 years ago. It actually feels like the team responsible for all of that atmosphere in that previous game sort of just fell asleep for a decade, and then somebody woke them up to work on Battlefield 6. And performance is pretty good too. I'm running the game on the high preset here. I've not really touched the other settings much, minus turning off motion blur and a few of those post-process effects like the vignette and chromatic aberration. And it runs really, really well. Everything starts blowing up around you, and you know, the performance holds up. There could be tanks rolling past, bricks and rubble surrounding you, there's smoke, noise, everything's going off, and the game just keeps on going. That's definitely something that you cannot take for granted in a Battlefield beta, so props to the dev team for that one. One element of the graphics that I will say needs a touch of work is the character lighting, and this was actually an issue back in Battlefield 5 as well. Often the characters blend into the background a little bit, and it makes them a little bit harder to spot. The solution back in Battlefield 5 was to increase the lighting around the outside of the character as they move. I think they called it like ring lighting or something. So if the devs could maybe try that again, maybe like a 15 or 20% increase in the lighting around the characters, I think we'd probably be in a pretty good place. The outfits for the NATO and Pax Armata soldiers are really nice though. They fit in with that war-torn vibe that the game is going for. Now the maps are somewhat smaller than most people are used to when it comes to Battlefield games, I will say that. To me, Siege of Cairo feels like a slightly smaller BF3 Grand Bazaar and Sen Crossing. It's very urban, close to mid-range gunfights at the most. Iberian Offensive is like pre-Detahure. If you ever played that map in Battlefield 1, it was part of the French DLC. Even more close quarters with limited vehicle options. And then Liberation Peak is probably like the most Battlefield-esque map, but it still feels a little bit small in its scale. Almost like a Bad Company 2 map. If you guys ever played the Cold War map on Rush in that game, that's kind of the sort of feeling that I get from Liberation Peak. Now, there are more larger open maps in the game. Operation Firestorm is there at launch, and Mirak Valley is said to be the largest map in the game at launch. So, right now, what we're experiencing is definitely the smaller end of the scale for Battlefield 6, but maybe it would have been a better idea to have one of those larger maps in the open beta to sort of showcase both ends of the scale. I don't know. I know a lot of people have been waiting to see that Battlefield Sandbox showcase in all of its glory, and whilst these maps are really fun to play, they definitely are on the smaller side. I want to talk about the gunplay and the movement next, firstly because I do share the opinion of a fair few others that Battlefield 6 right now is sort of lacking a bit in recoil with the guns in the open beta, but also because we've already got some info on that front about what might be done. There was a blog post that went out just before the open beta kicked off that said there'd been a TTK and TTD pass across all the weapons in the game, and so I just assumed that those changes were in the open beta, but apparently that isn't the case. Now, included in those changes was a pass on the recoil as well, so once the final game arrives, we'll know if the feedback from the open beta, which largely appears to be that weapons need a bit more recoil to stop being so beamy, has been actioned on. I will also add that I can see the SMGs being extremely powerful over range right now because of that low recoil, which is netting me some kills that absolutely I should not be getting. And as much fun as that is, the entire point of the SMG is power at close range, not no recoil at long range. That said, pretty much every time you unlock a new gun in the open beta, it has already got some attachments on it, and a lot of those seem to help with recoil. And if you remove all the attachments and use the gun just naked, then the recoil is a fair bit more noticeable. And I do want to touch on the TTK and TTD as well. Personally, I'm a fan of the short time to kill. I think it suits the pacing of the game, and it benefits every player with them being able to get kills. And at the end of the day, Battlefield 6 is a casual team-based shooter, and it needs to be fun for everyone, and having a short time to kill achieves that goal. The time to death, however, that needs a little bit of investigation and work. A fair few times I've died in like really short amounts of time, shorter than the time to kill. Maybe not one frame deaths completely, unless the broken shotgun is the thing that killed me, but certainly shorter than I think is currently intended. I'm not sure if it's the netcode. Haha, dreaded Battlefield word there. Not sure if it's the netcode, but it needs a bit of work there. And if some weapons are just beamy versus others, I'm not really sure. It's just sometimes when you take that damage, it doesn't quite feel right. It doesn't feel in keeping with the time to kill. And I think the time to death is resulting in some bad outcomes there. For me, the movement in the game, absolutely fine. I don't really have any issues with it. Yes, it is a little bit faster than previous Battlefield games, or at least it feels that way to me. And of course, you can switch to your knife and you can run even faster. But I don't have a problem really tracking players when I'm trying to shoot them. They're not doing outrageous movements on me. Even with the slide mechanic or people going prone on their back, I'm not really having an issue shooting them. So I don't really have an issue with the movement. The only problem I do have, and I think it's a bug, right now there's like this weird head bobbing thing that goes on with characters when you like strafe or move over cover whilst you're in ADS, and it just massively throws off your aim. And I think it's tied to the mantling system in the game, where it tries to keep your character moving smoothly at all times, but it kind of results in these weird movements where you're trying to shoot and you move and you hit this tiny thing on the ground and boop, your character just goes all wonky, and the aim, you just can't hit anything. You might have noticed it in other areas as well. Sometimes you're like going over different cover elements, and if you're jumping at the same time, your character like gets flung up in the air and then you land back down on the ground again. I think it's a bug. I'm pretty confident it's a bug actually, and hopefully the devs are tracking this and they can get it sorted for the launch. And I do want to mention one part of the game that really has me like questioning why this hasn't been a thing for other Battlefield games. It's the dragging revive system. It's made me think, like, why has this never been in Battlefield before? I do remember during the marketing for Battlefield 5 back in 2018 that the devs back then said they were trying to implement a dragging revive system into the game, but they were struggling to make it work correctly without it being really janky and causing loads of like network and physics issues in the game. Sadly, it never ended up making it into Battlefield 5, but it's here in Battlefield 6, and it genuinely might be one of the best additions that Battlefield has ever made. It's so seamless. You just run up, grab your squad mate, pull them off around the corner, stab them with the revive pen, and they're back in the fight. And with the different environments that we've got in the game here, especially on the Cairo map, it just fits right into the vibe that the game is giving off. It's a real team play element, and with this game focusing hard on classes and their specific roles, it's great to have a feature that any class has access to that's really powerful in pushing your squad and your team forward. So props to the devs for getting it working. It's a really cool feature. Okay then, let's get stuck into some stuff that I'm not a massive fan of in the beta and some stuff that I think could be improved. First of all, probably my biggest disappointment, this might be a little bit out there in terms of disappointments, but I'm going to mention it anyway. Extremely disappointed in the King of the Hill game mode. For a Battlefield game, it feels like a massive missed opportunity to create an all-out combined arms battle for a single large objective point with destruction, flanking opportunities, explosives, and teamwork to try and gain control of a point. And what we've actually got is 8v8 hardpoint from Call of Duty. The capture point moves every couple of minutes or so, and it's infantry only, fight over who holds the point, and it's first to 250 tickets. I was massively underwhelmed when I played it for the first time. I literally played 2 rounds, I quit, and went back to Conquest. Now, I know there's a real push to activate the Call of Duty audience with this game and get them comfortable with playing Battlefield, so having a mode like Hardpoint makes total sense because it's an objective-based game mode, and actually, if it was just called Hardpoint, I don't think I'd be giving this feedback. But when you hear King of the Hill, I'm not expecting an 8v8 small-scale mode in a Battlefield game. I'm expecting balls-to-the-wall action, high-octane, huge clashes of players. If I was going to improve it, I'd make it 16v16 or even 24 versus 24. I'd widen the capture point so it's more of a tug of war with multiple players all in the capture zone at once, having their own little fights around the area. Maybe drop in some transport vehicles and maybe give each team an IFV on a spawn timer and then just let players have at it and have a real grind fest. I wasn't expecting 8v8 hardpoint when somebody told me King of the Hill. Next, I've got to mention the menus and customization again. They're still all over the place. This is actually the same build as the multiplayer reveal event in Los Angeles, so actually nothing has changed here. But there does need to be a proper cleanup of the settings menu. Currently, there's options all over the place, stuff hidden in sub-menus everywhere, all of these other options that ought to be elevated to a better position. It's just a mess. It's good to know that all the options I could ever want are there in Battlefield 6. It's just actually finding them and knowing where they are so you can change them. That and the weapon customization where you have to click modify and then customize to go into the gunsmith menu, it's too many clicks to get to where I want to go. It needs some cleaning up. And I've said that quite a few times for previous Battlefield games. Some other games even have a search option in settings, by the way. If Battlefield 6 could add that, that'd be amazing. I'm a little bit undecided on the sweet spot mechanic for snipers in Battlefield 6. Granted, right now we only have one sniper rifle to use, and it has a sweet spot range of like 80 meters or something, which seems to be, the sweet spot for sniping on maps like Cairo and Liberation Peak. And the sweet spot allows you to get one-shot upper chest shots. And I think it's been added back to the game for the same reason that the game has a short time to kill, to allow literally anyone to get kills and have a good time. And like I said, I'm all for that, so maybe I should actually be a fan of the sniper sweet spot. And I've got to say that the jingle that you get when you get a kill and the on-screen notifications when you get another kill with a sniper rifle, it's really satisfying. But I don't know, like the sweet spot just feels a little bit cheesy to me. I've heard that the mechanic is here to stay though, and come launch, most of the snipers available will have the sweet spot mechanic attached to them, just at different ranges and for different windows of ranges. So let's say like 100 to 125 meters, etc. So maybe I just need to get used to the fact that it's here and it's not going away. But there is something super satisfying about getting headshots in FPS games, and with the sweet spot, you kind of lessen that impact because you're giving one-shot kills for a part of the body that's technically easier to hit. Although the game does have distinct kill notification jingles for headshots versus normal body shot or sweet spot kills, so I guess there's that. Also, the sniper glints, man oh man, they need to be toned down. They are so bright and distracting at the moment. I remember a similar issue in the Battlefield 1 beta actually back in 2016. We've pretty much got the same issue now, and I know the devs are actually working on fixing this for launch, so that's good to hear. I'm a little bit concerned about the breakthrough game mode, especially on Cairo and Liberation Peak. It may be very different on some of the other maps in the game, but of course, we're talking about the open beta here, so my feedback is specifically pointed at that. I think breakthrough at the moment leaves a lot to be desired. The entire point of the game mode is about having two huge teams clashing and battling out for capture points. But on Cairo, the defenders are able to push up way too far into attacker territory, leaving barely any depth in sectors for gameplay to actually take place. And whose bright idea was it to give defenders on Cairo a flipping IFV every single sector? Are you actually serious? All defenders need to do is place that IFV on the corner of a row, point diagonally back into the previous sector, and just start farming kills on the attacking team. All the while, you've got an engineer sat behind you, infinitely repairing your IFV. You've got to get rid of that on Cairo. It's ridiculous. On Liberation Peak, Sector 1, it allows defenders way too far up close to the attacker spawn, and it makes it one of the hardest sectors to take. Breakthrough should always work as the easiest sector to capture first, all the way up to the hardest sector to capture at the end of the map. And the rest of Liberation Peak kind of works okay in that regard. It does feel like it's harder from Sector 2 onwards. It gets increasingly more difficult. But if you're attacking, most of the time you're going to lose most, if not all of your tickets trying to take the first sector on Liberation Peak. And speaking of tickets, can we just get more of them on Breakthrough overall? 200 tickets is quite a low number on maps that focus heavily on infantry battles, so maybe 300 on maps like Cairo and Liberation Peak would be a more suitable number. Just in general, I want to enjoy Breakthrough as a game mode. I absolutely loved it back in Battlefield 1, and I liked it in Battlefield 5 as well. I'd love to like it here in Battlefield 6, but at the moment, it just doesn't feel as fun to play compared to Conquest. And then we should probably talk about matchmaking and the lack of a server browser. Right now, in the open beta, the only way to get into games is via matchmaking, and when we get to launch, it sounds like this is also going to be the only way to play on official servers for Battlefield 6. When it comes to Portal, those community-made experiences, there will be a server browser, and it will be hosted in the main menu. Now, personally, that's quite disappointing, because here I actually think there's a case for both matchmaking and a server browser to coexist for official servers. Now, if we look back to games like Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, all of these had server browsers and matchmaking options. That allowed players to choose either route into a game. Now, matchmaking, I think, is probably the most common way to get people into matches. And with the widening of the intended audience for Battlefield 6, who are already used to just clicking a matchmaking button and getting into a game, this is going to be the best way to get them into game, so they can start having fun. That's got to be a key driver for EA and the devs if they're making a decision like this. They want people to launch the game, click one button, start matchmaking, get into a game, and just start having fun straight away. Any barrier that gets in the way of that might cause someone to quit the game and go and play something else, and EA don't want that. They want people playing their game instead. However, there's also a big chunk of the audience for Battlefield 6 that are used to more control over their experiences that they want to play. There's a big community aspect for Battlefield fans, and having a server browser that allows them to all join the same server at the same time on a map and mode that they specifically want to play, that's super important. Even if that results in large groups of players just going into one server for one match, and then playing it, dropping back into the menu afterwards, and then finding another server via the browser, and then getting into that, is that really going to do that much harm when you look at the wider player base that you're going for here? If you look at the interest and general player numbers just on Steam on PC for this Battlefield 6 beta, the game peaked to over 500k concurrent players on Steam last night for an open beta. So there's clearly a healthy player base and a want for people to play this game. So surely having two entry points into servers via matchmaking or the server browser is something you can justify, because that number, 500k, that was only on Steam. That doesn't count the EA app, that doesn't count the Epic Games Launcher, and that doesn't count PS5 and Xbox Series X and S. So there's a hell of a lot more players than 500k playing the open beta right now. Surely that's enough to support matchmaking and a server browser for official servers. I also think, actually, if Battlefield came out after the open beta and announced that they were going to have the server browser for official servers in the final game based on feedback, that would just be a massive PR win for the brand. People could choose to play however they wanted to play. I think that would be a massive positive for lots of players. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, actually, is to do with servers. There's still an issue in Battlefield 6 that was present in Battlefield 2042, where sometimes the matchmaker just keeps putting you on the same map over and over and over again, because each time the matchmaker is starting from scratch and creating a new lobby, there doesn't appear to be any persistence with this matchmaker. And this is particularly an issue for Breakthrough, and it will probably be on Rush as well, where you'd normally want to flip sides after a match and play attack or defense, whatever was the other from the last round that you played. Right now, that doesn't appear to be the case in Battlefield 6. I played Breakthrough yesterday, and I got Attacker 5 times in a row, played Cairo 3 times in a row, then played Liberation Peak twice in a row, all as attack. And that was really fun for me, because attacking is more fun in Breakthrough. But if you're stuck on the defensive team for 5 rounds in a row, that's not a good experience. And that kind of situation can be resolved by having a server browser. Because if you get stuck in one of those loops where you play the same map over and over, that might not be entertaining for you. But if you had a server browser with official servers in it, you could drop back into the main menu, have a look through the server browser, find a map that you do want to play, something different from what you've just played, and jump into that lobby instead. Problem solved. I think it'd be far more positive for the longer life of this game if a server browser was added and official servers were added to that server browser. It would fuel communities for years to come, allowing to craft their own experiences via Portal. That's something that's already confirmed that we're going to have. But it'd be great if it included official experiences in that server browser too. So if you like playing the quote-unquote vanilla version of Battlefield 6, but you just want to play on a specific map at a specific time, you can find a server that's going to do that for you. Okay, I think that's most of my feedback done for the open beta. As I said earlier on, I am having a blast playing Battlefield 6 right now. And make sure, if you've got time, get involved in the open beta. Download it, get on, play this weekend if you can. If not, play the second weekend, which is actually going to add the other map called Empire State, I think it's called. It's going to add another map, and then Rush is going to be added as well. So more content coming in weekend 2. Play it, shout your feedback from the rooftops. That's the entire point of an open beta. Use the comment section down below. Let me know all your thoughts and opinions. I hope you enjoyed this video. Drop a like if you did. Subscribe for more Battlefield 6 videos. And I'll catch you in the next one.